Happening? Welcome in. The water's just fine. It's Boston has entered the chat. He's Travis Thomas. I'm George Balekji.
Hi.
We're here in the PNC Bank studio. If you're listening along, wherever you get your podcast, please like, subscribe, download, rate, and review. If you're watching on YouTube, hit the subscribe button on Nesson's YouTube channel. T, how are we doing today, my man?
I would be doing better if this was a Victory Monday, but instead, I'm going to call it.
You're not used to it by now?
I know.
You know what these days are going to be.
You know what this Monday is, though? A Clarity Monday. Clarity Monday. I mean, the Patriots last few weeks, they've been hanging in these games. Yeah. They win a game. This one, clarity. It's great coaching, great quarterback play, great weapons. You kind of see what it looks like when a team has it all together.
Saw it back-to-back weeks.
Yeah, right. And then on the other side, not so much. Clarity Monday.
All right, I feel you. Hey, we got a packed show for you on this Clarity Monday, as we'll call it. Max Verstappen winning his fourth straight World Drivers' Championship in Formula One. We'll talk about that. Aaron Rodgers and the Jets, big question. Robert Kraft not in the Hall of Fame. We'll react to the Patriots' loss to the Dolphins as well. They just continue their losing ways. Give out our game balls. We'll take a look at Monday Night Football, and we'll talk Jim Montgomery.
Will we? Will we give out game balls?
We'll find out. And we'll talk about Jim Montgomery finding a new landing spot in the NFL. But as always, we like to start with what's trending. So we'll pull up the clock on the screen. You guys know how we do it. And let's start with Max Verstappen in impressive fashion. Wins his fourth straight World Drivers' Championship, Trav, in Formula One racing. That are four straight from Max. All four he's had. So 21, 22, 23. I'll tell you what, man. This is his most impressive World Drivers' Championship.
This one.
And you see the excitement for Max Verstappen. And you would think as a four-time world champion, we're showing his tweet on the screen, that he's used to it by now. But what makes this one the most impressive, last year he is the best driver in the world right now. No doubt about it. Last year he had the best car. This year he had the third, sometimes fourth fastest car on the grid. That's what makes it impressive. Like, McLaren had the fastest cars, Ferrari second fastest. Depending on the day, depending on the weekend, and the adjustments made, it could be a Mercedes-Benz car that's faster than his. But he had the third or fourth fastest car on the grid, won his fourth straight championship, and continued to outpace the entire rest of the driving grid. And the best way to compare and say, well, how do you know his car isn't that great? It is Max. Well, look at his teammate, Sergio Perez. Max is first, won the World Drivers' Championship. Sergio Perez is eighth in the driver's standings by a long shot, like a huge gap between 7th, 6th, and 8th. You see what Sergio Perez is doing where he's barely getting points, barely finishing 10th right now. Recently, where the rest of the course and the rest of the grid caught up, Max Verstappen continues to be the most dominant driver, one of the most dominant athletes in all sports, and this losing Adrian Newey midseason. With McLaren once again having the fastest car. With Ferrari catching up and Carlos Sainz being great, Max Verstappen once again displayed his greatness in this one. I
saw in that tweet we just showed he had hashtag Unleash the Lion. Is he called the Lion?
Yeah.
Does he call himself the Lion or was he given that?
Probably both. Okay. I'm not going to lie. Right. There's a lot of bravado and arrogance and confidence with
I noticed that hashtag.
But it's like when you look at F1 since the mid-90s, it was Schumacher.
Yes.
Then it was Sebastian Vettel for a 4-year gap. Okay. Then it was Lewis Hamilton.
That's my guy.
That's the dude. And now it's Max Verstappen.
Yeah.
But I say this one's the most impressive just because of the challenges ahead of him and the unleashing of the lion.
Yeah.
Like Zach Brown, who's the team president of McLaren, basically the head of it all to make it
also
comparable.
A country music singer.
Yeah, there we go. ZBV. Different Zach Brown.
Different Zach.
Same name. But he has said, like, well, we have the fastest cars. Let's see what Max does, and he's had the fast car. He went to him. He's like, you said I only do it with the fastest car. What are you going to say now?
Wow.
He's letting it be known. And it was stacked against him as good as it can.
Yeah.
Red Bull did not have the best car, but he showed. And there's always that argument. What's more important, the driver or the car?
Right.
We saw it's the driver.
Well, first of all, shout outs to you for loving the sport and your Formula 1 t-shirt that you have on right now. I like that as well. Let me ask you this before the shot clock hits. Where is he all time? I mean, are we now in a conversation where I understand how you broke it down almost like their eras? Schumacher had this era. Lewis Hamilton had this era. This kid has this era. Is he all time yet?
Yeah, he's
like
top 4
GOAT
all time.
Status?
Yes. It's Schumacher, it's Lewis, it's Max, and then that fourth spot could be Ayrton Senna, wherever people want to see.
Wow.
But he's an all-time. He's a top 4 all-time driver.
And it appears as though he's in his prime, too, so he's still going to keep doing this for a while.
Super young, I think 27 now.
Ooh,
so,
okay.
We'll see how he does moving forward, but shout out to Max Verstappen. It was, last year he won it by such a long gap. I know the buzzer went off. They're going to kill me.
Don't do it again.
This was interesting. This was tight.
Told you.
And again, him without the best car, he proved himself. All right, speaking of, well, goats, Aaron Rodgers playing for the Jets next season doesn't sound like a guaranteed thing. So I'm going to try and quickly go through some reports. So Ian Rappaport put out reports the Jets don't know what's going on with Rodgers because he reportedly won't allow them to know. Like when he was asked about the team by like a hamstring injury, he'd say, I'm playing and that's it. He'd refuse to get scans so they don't know the severity of his injuries. Then Diana Rossini put out a report. I'm told no decisions have been made yet, but it appears increasingly likely the 4-time MVP who is banged up could be placed on injured reserve or possibly benched over the next few weeks, signaling the end of his disastrous time with the Jets. Some around the league say they won't be surprised if Rodgers is cut in season. As for Rodgers, his relationship with the owner has been strained for months. Then Jordan Schultz put out the narrative of a fractured relationship between Aaron Rodgers and Woody Johnson is overblown. In fact, the two enjoyed dinner together in New York City just a couple weeks ago. There's been ongoing communication between them. Both agree the season has been deeply disappointing, with Rodgers playing through injuries and the team underperforming. One word, circus.
Yeah, I mean, but that's what you get with Aaron Rodgers, right?
I've come around.
You also have to remember this with him that's kind of unique, is Aaron Rodgers watched Brett Favre hold a franchise hostage at the end of his career. And by the way, the Packers at that point had an Aaron Rodgers waiting in the wings.
Yeah.
And Brett Favre had started to show signs of deteriorating as well in terms of father time, which is undefeated. So Rodgers watched this guy pretty much. I mean, the Packers, how many years was it back and forth? Are you coming back, Brett? I don't know. Are you coming back, Brett? I just want to go fishing. Are you coming back, Brett? I don't know. And then at the last second, he'd come back, and everyone would be like, well, what's going on? Well, it's Brett Favre. You got to let him do it. That's what Rodgers is doing here. I don't even think he loves ball. I think Brett Favre was at a stage of his career he just didn't want to let go.
Yeah.
And he thought he still had something in the tank, something to prove. I don't believe that's the case for Aaron Rodgers. I don't think Aaron Rodgers gives a damn about football anymore. I think he cares more about his darkness retreats and his wacky theories and all that nonsense than he does football. This is about money. He's going to ride out this contract, whether it's with the Jets or whoever. He wants another year. He wants his money, and then he's done. Mm-hmm. I think he will retire because he doesn't love it like some of those other old-timers who couldn't let it go because of their love for the game.
I wouldn't be surprised if there's some injury clause in his contract, and maybe he knows something's wrong, that he can't pass a physical, and then that would void him of the third year because this is a real 3-year deal.
Yeah.
But every time, I think 3 years, $115 million.
I could see that too. You're right.
This is legit. There's no opt-out after year 2.
Him playing the game.
If the Jets cut him or trade him after this upcoming season, $69 million in dead cap.
Ooh.
That would cost him an extra $26 million to have him not on the roster.
So they're kind of stuck with him in a sense.
Yeah.
For one more year.
Yeah.
Which hey, listen, what else are you going to do?
Wait for a quarterback in next year's draft. You're not getting one in this draft.
Yeah.
But he's staying in New York.
Bring him back.
Circus. That's a long buzzer. All right. Robert Kraft. Snubbed from getting into the Pro Football Hall of Fame once again.
I don't understand.
This year marks the 13th year that Kraft, now 83, this is from Don Van Natta, was considered by the Hall Committee but failed to advance out of the committee. 80% of the voters must approve and nominate finalists for induction into Hall. Now, what catches this one is Robert Hay, who's considered the founding father of the NFL, was the contributor that advanced. So there's obviously players, coaches, now contributor. The timing of him not getting in, it's interesting once again because for Don Van Natta to report this of all people too, he's the one that put out that, as I call it, novel report that basically everyone's tired of Robert Kraft politicking to get into the Hall of Fame. Well, it's going to keep happening.
Well, listen, there are politics in everything, and I'm not talking about who you voted for. I'm talking about clearly he is not liked by the powers that be. This is just so obvious to me. I don't understand this. Robert Kraft is a Hall of Famer. Like, what's the disconnect? Where's the problem? This has to be personal. And another thing, too, I think he's, in a way, Robert Kraft has hurt his own legacy in recent years. We talk about this all the time on the show, where it's like, okay, you know, the Brady-Belichick thing, that leads in divorce. Tom wins that divorce. He goes on, wins a ring, has everything great happen to him. Belichick fizzles out here. But since all of that has taken place, it's like Robert Kraft has played the cover your own arse game.
Yeah.
Where it's like, well, the dynasty was really, I deserve all the credit for that. And it's like, oh, these what's the thing we watched on, was it Apple TV?
Yeah, the Dynasty.
By him, right?
The Dynasty.
And we talked about how that was clearly propaganda and just, I think a lot of that stuff has hurt him. I think the Jerod Mayo choice and maybe the stubbornness to stick with him could hurt him as well. I don't know. I still look at, he deserves some credit, does he not? I mean, he kept this dynasty together for longer than most dynasties last. If my memory serves me correctly, while you want to give Bill all the credit for Tom Brady and drafting him and developing and all that, didn't Kraft trade for Belichick in the beginning? So
it's also like, I'm not giving Belichick credit drafting Brady. If you knew Tom Brady was Tom Brady, you wouldn't wait until the 6th round to get him.
But I'm just saying, I don't know if Kraft gets that credit.
This is, you said it, people don't like him. Robert Hay, this is the first time he was ever considered by the committee, and he gets in.
Right.
That's them. There's like a selection committee. It's like 9 people. They're saying like, look, if you run a PR campaign, if you push for yourself to get in, you're not going to get in. They want to show like, all right, we're going to be the smartest people in the room. We're going to put people that deserve, like he should be in if you're considered the founding father. Yes. Robert Kraft should be in the Hall of Fame. In my opinion, no owners should be in because the only way they're getting in is off the backs of players who they've underpaid, who they've exploited, and they've made billions off of. That's the only way they get to the Hall of Fame. But if owners are in, Robert Kraft should be in.
Yeah, he's one of them.
This is clearly people don't like him.
That's right.
In that committee.
That's right. That is a long buzzer. You're right.
I hate that buzzer.
Why is it so long?
Because you don't shut up.
Why is that so long?
Wait, that one was shorter than the previous one. All right, let's stop before the folks listening driving their car.
It's so long.
It's like 7 a.m. You're driving down Storo in traffic and you're All right, let's get to honestly, I'd rather hear that buzzer nonstop for 3 hours than watch the Patriots play football again. Because they're that poorly coached and they're that bad of a team.
It's so bad.
Look, 34-15, the final. Miami Dolphins beat the New England Patriots. Tua Tagovailoa, 29 for 40. 317 yards, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. Run game kept in check, but Jaylen Waddle, 8 catches, 144 yards, 1 touchdown. At one point, Jaylen Waddle was almost just 6 yards short of the Patriots' offensive total and outscored the Patriots 6 points to 0. But compare it, it was Jaylen Waddle on 8 catches compared to the Patriots' offense on 38 plays. So, look, when the Patriots play good teams, they lose.
That's it.
And you can have your opinion on this Dolphins team, but the Patriots are a bad team. And what we said when we were up here, we're like, after the Bears win, look, I'm just happy to see competent, smart football, executing in the right manner. When they stole that win from the Jets, look, if someone gives you an opportunity to win late in the game, you take it. Jets team is awful. That Bears team was getting ready to fire their offensive coordinator, and that offense was actually the worst offense I've seen this year. And we've watched the Patriots now for 12 games. Dolphins are a good team. The Pats continue to look unprepared. And if it wasn't for a Drake Maye miracle play and a Jaylen Wright mistake with a good bounce towards Christian Gonzalez, this is either a 34-7 game or a 34-0 game.
Oh, my God. Well, it was 31-0 before the Patriots even thought of scoring, right? This was a beatdown. And that's why, I said at the top of the show, it just provided a lot of clarity. I was giving Jerod Mayo credit going back to that Bears game because I said, hey, you see a competent coach in Jerod Mayo and that staff. And we saw with the Bears, Eberflus, who shouldn't even be there still, and obviously Shane Waldron, who eventually did get fired after that Patriots game. But that was a terrible coaching staff. And I said, okay, it gave me a little bit of hope, I guess, for the future of like, all right, this guy is competent. Now can he grow from that? And then the following week, you saw him against Sean McVay, who's an elite coach. And Patriots hung in that game. But they hung in that game in spite of Jerod Mayo because he didn't make adjustments. We were all saying the same thing. Why the hell don't you move Gonzalez to Cooper Kupp or to travel with Puka Nacua? They didn't do it. Okay, fine. Now, here's another elite coach in McDaniel. Tua's balling. Dolphins have been rolling since Tua's been back in the lineup. He's starting to be fully healthy now, and they're rolling, man. And it looked in this game like, okay, maybe this coach isn't as competent as we thought. Because, I mean, my goodness, like you said, the running game was held in check. I disagree. I don't think the Dolphins had to run the damn ball.
Well, they were passing it so efficiently, they didn't have to.
It was almost like pick your poison. They decided, you know what, we're going to throw on these guys. And that's what they did. And they did anything they wanted. Clarity, okay? I do believe Jerod Mayo's competent. I don't believe he was the right hire. And I certainly don't believe he should be retained. And I know all the reports. We talked about them all last week. Diana Rossini and others. Patriots coaches are safe. And we know Robert Kraft doesn't want to admit he was wrong by making this hire to begin with. But it was wrong, okay? And I know sometimes there's a saying in football where it's like it's not always the X's and the O's, it's the Jimmys and the Joes, meaning you need to have talent. It's not always the coach's fault. In the Patriots' case, which is so unique to them this season, they don't have either. You don't have the X's and the O's from the coach, and you damn sure don't have the Jimmys and the Joes. You have Drake Maye and Christian Gonzalez. That's it. Everybody else, I don't give a damn who you name. I like Barmore. I like a lot of these guys. Duggar. You can name some other guys on this roster who I really like. They're all expendable if you ask me. Yeah. The only two I'm hanging up the phone if you call me asking for a trade is Drake Maye and Christian Gonzalez. Everybody else on this roster could have a conversation if I was in charge to get moved this offseason. They would, okay? I don't think you have anything. Your cupboard is completely bare. What does Jerod Mayo do that's great, that has an identity, that you can hang your hat on? I'll give him credit. I don't believe his team has quit on him, but how many more weeks do we have? It ain't too late. I tell you one thing, I think this team is done for wins this season. They're not winning another game.
I screwed up reading Tua Tagovailoa's passing yards, 317. I know I said
What'd
a word,
you say?
like 227.
Oh.
And even as I was saying it, I'm like, I know I messed up.
I just know the 4 touchdowns. I know that off top.
Look, I don't care who's on this defense. When they look as unprepared as they have the last 2 weeks, you could trade and get new players in. You can know that these guys continue to get better. Like Barmore's only his second game back from blood clots. And Kyle Duggar dealing with a bad ankle, but he had his worst game of a pro, in my opinion, because he was on the field for all 3 touchdowns, and you saw missed assignments by him. But I digress. I don't care who's on the field for this defense. Yeah. When the coaching and the preparation looks this bad, no one's going to succeed.
That's right.
And this is a Dolphins team that by halftime is up 24-0. And at a success rate of 60% in the first half of their plays. And again, when you hear success rate, it's literally simple. 1st and 10, do you get halfway through the sticks? 2nd and whatever the distance is, do you get halfway to the sticks? Then 3rd and whatever, 4th and whatever, do you get a first down? So is it basically, are you staying either on pace for where you want the offense to be or ahead of the sticks? Simple as that.
Yep.
Dolphins has 60% success rate. That is meeting next to no resistance. That was in the first half.
Yep.
This is coming off a game where the Rams had an 86% success rate, where the Rams offense had whatever they wanted, averaged almost 9 yards a play. Then the Dolphins in the second half take their foot off the gas pedal, let up, take the air of the ball, just get out with the win at home. Tua was dicing them up. Jaylen Waddle was exposing once again the secondary that is undermanned and under-talented, especially in matchups with Marcus Jones. Christian Gonzalez did fine. Tyreek Hill didn't have a big game. Cool. But Jaylen Waddle, Tua Tagovailoa, Devin Achane out of the backfield, like that's where you just see that how talented these offenses are. And you can say what you want about the Dolphins with their quarterback, with their receiving group, with their defense, with their head coach. Good teams have offenses that look like the Dolphins. And the Patriots don't have a defense that's close to keeping up with those offenses. Yeah. The Rams, the Dolphins, Cardinals, which they're going to see.
Oh, God.
Bears team with good coaching because they got the talent.
Right.
The Bills, Amari Cooper and James Cook, and of course Josh Allen.
They have them twice.
The Chargers, they're going to face them. Who just have layers. Some of those offenses aren't explosive. Others just have the talent. This roster is not that great.
Yeah.
The coaching doesn't help. By the way, we haven't even gotten into how bad the offensive line play was.
Oh.
Real quick, so O-line penalties. I'm just going to go and list. Vidarian Lowe, false start. Demontre Jacobs, false start. Vidarian Lowe, false start. Demontre Jacobs, holding. Vidarian Lowe, holding. Vidarian Lowe, false start.
God.
Mike Onwenu, holding.
That's terrible.
7 on the offensive line. Whether they were accepted or not, those are penalties
Awful.
that were called. Some weren't accepted because there'd be another penalty, like an Austin Hooper neutral zone infraction that would get accepted.
They were not prepared. You said it.
It's preparation and execution, and it's the same thing. This team, it truly they haven't gotten better because they can't consistently put it together, Trev.
George brings up the penalties. 10 penalties for the Patriots, 75 yards lost. For the Dolphins, a well-coached team.
Those
3
are
penalties.
accepted penalties.
That's right.
Keep that in mind.
Dolphins, 3 penalties, 17 yards. By the way, this Patriots offense never even got in the red zone. I said it had to be second quarter. I think I said out loud in the room where we watched the game, I wish there was a running clock on this, like in youth sports.
That's like the 5th time we feel this year, too.
It's true. When I watch my son's team get smoked, thank God there's a running clock so we can get the hell out of there quicker. But it is what it is, man. They're not well coached. They were not prepared. They don't have the talent. Listen, I bring up what does Jerod Mayo do well because the pushback I get when I say you got to move off this guy. It's not working. You got to get a real coach in here. People always say, well, what were the expectations? You knew it was going to be a rebuilding year. Cool. I wasn't even weighing this team on wins and losses.
Yeah.
It was more, what can we hang our hat on for the future? Okay, Drake Maye, check. I'm cool. I feel great. They picked the right quarterback. Check. How about the running game? Is there a certain toughness with the run game? No? Oh, okay. Well, Jerod Mayo's head coach. I know the defense is going to be solid. Say what you want about Bill on the way out, but the defense was always, oh, no, the defense stinks too.
Yep.
So it's like, what do you bring me? Are you bringing that toughness? Are you motivating your teams? Are you like Dan Campbell? Like, does this team respond to you and sort of take your persona on? No, I don't get that either. Okay, well, is there creativity? One of the things I was looking for this season was creativity offensively. I knew the receivers were going to stink. I knew the offensive line wouldn't be any good. George told me every day of the offseason. So, okay, then I need creativity. Can you scheme guys open? Kurt Warner was talking about this last week. Can you scheme guys open? Is there creativity? We saw a trick play against the Dolphins that was awful. Me and George could draw that up in the hallways here at Nesson and execute it better than that. What the hell was that? That's the creativity? It's a mess. I don't see anything this guy does well. What's his calling card? What's the identity of this coaching staff? Right now, it looks like mistakes. Team's not prepared. It's a mess. I think you got to move off. You have all the money in the world. You're going to have a top 5 pick. That is an attractive. Those are attractive assets for someone who can actually coach their arse off, right? Okay, I can go to New England. They have a young quarterback in place.
Who everyone in the NFL is recognizing.
Who everyone loves.
Sean McVay's like, that kid's going to be a stud.
So
McVay.
They have a talented young quarterback. They have all this cap space, and they have a top 5 pick. You want to run it back with Jerod Mayo? Okay. All right. It's a mistake.
4th and 1. You're on Miami's 48. You're down 24-0, and you punt.
Huh.
It's stuff like that. You mentioned the double pass to a screen.
What was that?
When you haven't been able to run screens all season long.
What was that?
It is, you don't trust your offensive line, which I agree with, and you have to resort to that play call because of penalties, making it become 3rd and long. But it's just lack of execution. And like the players on the field, as it's going, you're like, they don't believe in this.
Of course not.
Reading body language, like the confidence in them.
Yeah.
No, Kendrick Bourne, the second he got the ball, is like, I got to throw there. Kendrick Bourne, good receiver. Looks like he could barely throw a football. Why is he the one doing that?
Right.
Like, there's going to be a receiver on that roster that could throw it.
What about on the other end of it? They threw to Ramondre. You have Antonio Gibson, who was a wide receiver in college and a playmaker. Yeah. Get him the ball. You're doing that dumbass play to Ramondre, who doesn't even catch like that?
All right, let's get to game ball. Speaking of that. But first, you want to join the conversation, make sure to tweet at us, #NessonChat, or email us, thechat@nesson.com to join the conversation. Enter the chat. And wherever you get your podcast, Spotify, Apple, Amazon Prime, or if you're watching on our YouTube channel, hit the subscribe button as well. That's Boston's Enter the Chat. Email thechat@nesson.com or use #NessonChat. All right, we always do game balls. So let's give out game balls from the 34-15 loss.
Yeah.
I'll go. Let's change this up a little bit.
Okay.
You give me your 3.
All right.
I'll give you my 3, and then we'll discuss it. So who gets your offensive game ball?
Well, you already know. I mean, you get to skip me every week. You know it's Drake Maye.
All right, perfect.
Yeah,
who gets your defensive game ball?
Well, Drake Maye's doing everything. Is my reasoning there. Defensive, I'm going Christian Barmore because he got his first sack.
Nice, he's back. I like that. What about
fully healthy, feeling good?
Game MVP?
I'm going to go Christian Gonzalez here instead of Drake Maye. The only reason I'm going Gonzalez because I have to give him something here. Yeah. As I said, Drake Maye, I love you, kid. Christian Gonzalez, I love you too. They're like my children. I love them both equally, and I'm not getting rid of either one of them. Everyone else can go, but Christian Gonzalez, the fumble return for a touchdown, actually made me think, hey, maybe no. But Christian Gonzalez gave me that moment. He did a good job on Tyreek Hill too. All right. So I'll go Gonzalez as my MVP.
Cool. I'll get back. I want you to break down the picks. Offensive game ball for me, nobody. Yeah. Defensive game ball for me, no one. And team MVP, no one. It's week 12.
You're not going to give one game ball, dog?
No, and do I blame these players? No, the coaching is that bad. But no one deserves any credit coming out of this loss, of any moral victory of they performed well.
Right.
And look, Christian Gonzalez did a good job with Tyreek Hill. Christian Barmore getting a sack is a big deal. Drake Maye was the only reason they were in this play at all.
That touchdown throw, George. Oh.
Drake Maye magic.
Yes.
He bailed out DeMontre Jacobs, who was beat by Chop Robinson, stiff-armed Chop Robinson, flowing and falling to his right, a dot, and reading a broken coverage, and that's what he does as special, is extending plays.
He does.
Great job, Drake. You're doing great. I'm sorry, dude, because your coach and the situation around you is so bad. Yeah. I don't want to give anyone credit and go, well, at least we have our quarterback getting. No one gets game balls, and that's where I'm holding accountability to the head coach that lets it get to this point.
You're a tough grader.
What did you like about Drake Maye? So I just wanted to go out that I'm giving.
It's what he's always done.
Yeah.
I don't love the interception. I know people. I've been seeing that.
The interception and the fumble were both bad.
And the fumble. The fumble was really. There's no excuse for that. You're holding the ball out. Yeah. Like, what are you doing,
Your
bro?
left side got beat on. Yeah. Just got beat by line games and stunts where they haven't picked up all year.
Yes.
But the ball out here away. No.
Have it.
There is learning, and he said it. There's learning to eat a play.
That's right.
And when you see the pass rush is that bad, second you think put the ball. No, just fall. Live another play.
Yep.
Because what happened after that, 2 plays later, Dolphins scored.
That's right. And I think that's a young quarterback thing. I don't think that's a Drake Maye thing. Caleb Williams does the same thing. A lot of these guys try to get into that hero ball stuff, and it never works out. Keep that ball high and tight, 2 hands on it, Drake Maye. That's just coaching fundamental 101. I hope even as bad as this coaching staff is, they're preaching that to the kid.
Yeah.
But I love Drake Maye, man. I just, watching these games, since he's been in the lineup, it just feels like Drake Maye's the lead singer of his band, and his band absolutely sucks. And you're sitting there at the concert, and you're like, man, their singer's really good. But the bass player's off, like the keyboardist is off key, the drummer's messing up the beat, the sound is terrible, the mic's too hot and making noises. But the singer, I like him. He could go places if he just plays. He goes and joins another band. That's what it feels like watching the Patriots every week. Mm-hmm. I see Drake Maye do something spectacular.
Yeah.
He's not perfect.
Nope.
But he'll do something where I'm like, God, the ceiling on this kid's amazing. There's a point in that Dolphins game he got sacked or he got hit, and he got up real slow. Mm-hmm. I mean, they were trying to help him up.
Back of his head hit the pass rusher's leg.
He was kind of woozy. I'm like, man, they're going to get this kid's clock clean.
And then he threw the touchdown.
I just hope Drake Maye is able, this is going to sound so dramatic, but I hope he's able to survive whatever this Jerod Mayo era, however long it is, and then eventually he gets a Sean Payton. He gets a guy who knows how to coach and develop quarterbacks. I don't know if he's going to make it. I mean, Robert Kraft needs to have a real long look in the mirror with himself about being stubborn and not wanting to admit he's wrong. Okay, but that could be at the detriment of Drake Maye. You got to own this decision you made as the wrong one for Jerod Mayo, and then go get someone who can prolong this kid's career and elevate him because Drake Maye's that good.
There was one point in the game where like it cut to Robert Kraft and Jonathan Kraft in their suite.
You were reading
and
lips.
Robert Kraft's like something fourth time.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly.
Yeah.
But Robert Kraft looked really upset.
Yeah.
Again, Robert Kraft has to look himself in the mirror then and go, the guy that I handpicked 17 years ago to be the next head coach of my team, I'm exaggerating, I have to let him go after 1 year because he was not the right choice.
Right.
And I don't think Robert Kraft can do that. He's attached him too far. If that's the only defense I could give a head coach, shame on me in this. Look, Drake Maye was spectacular. Again, he's the only reason he keeps him in the game. And everything he did in that play shows what he does great. Mm-hmm. Like he was making off-platform throws still, getting the ball out quick, but the offensive line wasn't helping him. The pass catchers weren't helping him. The scheme, the execution, everything around them.
Yeah.
And that's where we come full circle. I've seen what I need to see from Drake Maye. I think he can be the guy.
Me too.
And you build around him. You fully invest and you go all in, which you should have done even if he did not look that great.
Sure.
Because guess what? Third overall pick, it's what you're going to do.
You better. Yeah.
I've seen enough with him. This is where my worst nightmare comes true. And I'm afraid he can digress. And I am afraid he can take a step back. And I'm afraid he can be ruined where he has his high ceiling because of how special he is, extending plays, arm talent, accuracy. His processing and IQ on the field baffles me. I did not expect to see it this soon. But if the offensive line and they continue to strike out in free agency and draft, if the pass catchers, free agency and draft, if the play calling and the support, if they continue to strike out on the coaching staff, it will ruin Drake Maye.
Yeah.
And Drake Maye can be great, but it'd be for another franchise and not New England. And that's from day one where I said, I don't want to play him yet. Yeah. I want everything to be solid. Guess what? It was never going to be solid this year, as we just saw, because this was the time I wanted to see him play.
Yes.
Week 12, week 13.
Yes.
This looks awful.
Yeah.
And to your point, Robert Kraft needs to look on the sidelines, needs to look at his front office.
Yes, he does.
And goes, I'm going to have to make difficult decisions.
Yeah, he's going to have to do it. I'm telling you, I don't know if you agree with me or not. I don't believe this team's going to win any more games. And so you're a game worse than you were last year.
Colts at home, maybe you get them in a dome.
I don't know.
What's your defense going to do against Anthony Richardson?
Exactly. And Jonathan Taylor.
What AR do you get? At Arizona, Andrew Callahan reported. I need to point this out. You
ain't going to the desert and winning that game. You're not going there, are you?
And
Kyler's going to like it.
I didn't think
what Tua did?
Here we go. Andrew Callahan of the Boston Herald. He does a great job covering the team. That was one of the lighter Patriots locker rooms after a bad loss I can remember. Lighter. Not a happy locker room, but more players smiling and joking than normal to say it felt at least accepting of the blowout and their reality at 3-9.
Gosh.
Vacations are booked. You know what some of these guys are doing? Well, no, they got to get on the plane and go home. Vacations are booked. They're in Miami. At least it's warm, man. We had a good time last night. Hey, we got one more game at home.
Damn.
Guess what? Bye week, we're coming back down here. That's just what it's. And then after that point, 5 more games left, and we're on vacay.
Oh.
That's it.
Well, that's on coaching too, George.
Yes.
You know.
Yes.
I mean, you got to keep your guys engaged. You got to keep your guys hungry, and you got to be pissed off. I mean, you just got destroyed. You got embarrassed. And guys are having fun.
Yep.
Like, come on, man.
Yep.
And by the way, if that's happening, Jerod Mayo's got to walk in and absolutely lose it.
Yeah.
He's got to lose it. And he's not doing it.
Players coach. You want more Patriots talk? Check out Foxborough Rush. New episodes dropping every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, wherever you get your podcast. Also, follow the show on YouTube. Go to Nesson's YouTube page, hit the subscribe button. That's Foxborough Rush. New episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Friday shows featuring Michael Lombardi, former NFL exec. Latest episode featuring our post-game, more in-depth breakdown of this loss to the Dolphins, but also go to the YouTube channel, and you'll see interviews like Kurt Warner, like Michael Lombardi, and other guys around the league. That's Foxborough Rush, wherever you get your podcast. All right, let's talk good football. Monday night, Ravens 7-3 at the Chargers, Ravens 7-4 at the Chargers, who are 7-3. You have the best offense in the NFL coming off a very disappointing loss against the Steelers, where they're held to a season low in yards and points, against one of the more resurgent teams in the NFL, and the Chargers, who win with defense, making smart play, and a Jim Harbaugh coach team. It's also the almost annual Harbaugh Bowl. Or Horror Bowl.
Say it again.
Harbaugh
Bowl.
I'm excited for this one, the Harbaugh matchup regardless. This is going to be a great quarterback game. 2 really good offenses. What do the Ravens do? And is this Chargers defense legit enough After they found just a way to escape against the Bengals in that second half comeback, what do they do against Lamar and the Ravens?
Listen to my words here. I love what Jim Harbaugh has done. And I knew he was going to do it with the Chargers. All of us knew. If you're not a hater, you knew what was going to happen. He was going to show up. This is his MO, no matter where he is. College, NFL. He shows up. He makes your team overnight more physical, tougher, instant. That's what he brings. This is what we're talking about, Jerod Mayo. Like, what do you bring, bro? Harbaugh brings that. He's going to make your team tougher, okay? They run the ball by committee. They're pretty much the Ravens before Derrick Henry showed up. They got all them old Ravens running backs. They run the ball by committee. They don't have great receivers, but all their receivers block. They're physical. Yeah. Lad can play. Like they're real deal, Holyfield at receiver. Tough. Defense, much better. Much more competent under this coach than the last coach. This is what Harbaugh brings. And with all of these things, it makes their star, Justin Herbert, more efficient. This is what I would love for New England to do with Drake Maye. Build around him in this way. Give him a solid running game. Give him a solid offensive line. Give him a solid defense. And then just have elite coaching. And I think Drake Maye can be even better if he's more efficient. You're not as dependent on Drake Maye as you are right now. The Chargers used to be too dependent on Justin Herbert. Now he's more efficient, and his numbers are better, and they're playing better. Love what Jim Harbaugh is doing. With all that being said, man, some things you just can't quantify. Lamar Jackson's one of them. I'm sorry. I mean, the blueprint that the Chargers have, I want the Patriots to follow. That's how good the blueprint is. But damn it, man. Some things the Lord just took his time with, okay? And you can't even explain, like, how did this person do that? That's Lamar Jackson. So here's what I think's going to happen. I think the Chargers are going to be in control of this game. I think it's going to feel like the Chargers are going to win this game. And then I think Lamar's going to do something in the end. Get you in field goal range, score a touchdown. It's going to be something amazing. Throw, run, we don't know. Give me Lamar 27, Chargers 26. Walk off.
Ooh,
I don't even know how they're going to do it. I don't even know. I don't know. Is it a field goal? Because all of a sudden Justin Tucker can't kick anymore. So I don't know what's going on. But maybe Lamar will kick the game winner. Something's going to happen where Lamar is literally the difference in this game. I'll go 27-26. Best game of the week.
This is where I'm intrigued because the Chargers defense is great, but their last 4 wins, Saints, Browns, Titans, Bengals. Bengals most impressive of them all because that's a legit offense.
Because that's a game they would have lost, in the past too.
And you have the best quarterback and wide receiver in the league this year too.
That's right.
And yeah, there was almost a comeback in the second half, but you win that.
Yep.
I want to find quality wins, and that's what separates it. This Ravens defense is so bad. I don't know what you get from them.
Yeah.
And as we saw from Justin Herbert, now can he put it together 4 quarters? If he does, this defense can't get stops. Here's containing Lamar Jackson. But if there's anyone that can do it, you think of the best defense in the league, one of. But then think about when the Ravens match up with the Broncos and they drop 41 on them. And that's where I go, well, I just go back and forth on this the whole time. Again, it's Lamar on a long week of prep.
Yep.
Coming off an embarrassing loss where Todd Monken took the ball out of Derrick Henry's hands, which is unspeakable. Where can you win this one? Mm-hmm. And like you said, Chargers like to win at the line of scrimmage. That's where the Ravens are going to have to push it.
That's right.
Especially using their offensive line, their run game.
Yep.
And their guys against a really good Charger secondary. This Ravens defense is so bad, but with 2 really good coaches, I don't know where to go. I like your 27-26 call. And now with Justin Tucker being normal and human, that is a huge gap.
It's strange to see.
For this Ravens team, 27-26, I don't think it gets that high scoring. I'll go 24-22, Chargers win.
Oh, so we have similar games, but you're on the Charger side.
Yeah.
Tucker worries you.
I mean, that is something that is a weapon when you have a kicker that has that range. But it's just the reliability, and he's not even that reliable anymore.
I know. I don't know what's going on.
He's missed 6 field goal attempts. What is going on? Extra points aren't a gimme.
I guess age.
Finally came down to earth.
Yeah.
But you have a Chargers team that executes. Talk about what to do with the offensive line.
Yeah.
And it's how good this defense is. Now, I went with the defense in the Steelers-Browns matchup, and that shot me in the foot.
Yeah.
Where I was perplexed by that. In this game, Ravens, it'll probably be a home game for them out in L.A., to be honest. It's like there's no home crowds in L.A.
Yeah.
This offense coming off being embarrassed, but I just think where the Chargers can get stops, we know they can get stops. And if they even like just hold it for a half against the Ravens and make it a big gap that's tough for Baltimore to come back in and still get stops on the other end, with how bad this defense is, I think the Chargers got it.
Do you care about the Harbaugh Bowl aspect of this? The last time these two played was a Super Bowl. Remember, Beyonce turned off all the lights at halftime. That was
Stole
a strange
the momentum
game.
from the 49ers.
But, I mean, do you care? Do you buy into that stuff? Do you care?
Yeah, I mean, it matters. You know it matters for these guys. They want to beat their brother.
Yeah.
That family of, like, football history, but...
Which Harbaugh do you like the most?
Oh.
I like Jim, because he's psycho. John, I think is psycho, but
guy.
like normal-ish.
Jim's a weirdo.
Jim's a weird psychopath who, I mean, I get along with him great.
I'll go John. My middle name is John, so I like John Harbaugh.
He picked John. I picked Jim.
See, you know...
No, you picked...
John. I literally just picked John. I said John.
Yeah, you're right. No, I'm saying in the game.
Oh.
You're picking
I picked Jim in the game.
And I'm picking John
If John had a defense, if the Ravens had a defense, this would be easy for me. You obviously have the better offense, better players.
Right.
But this Baltimore defense has been such a liability for them week in and week out. That's what worries me.
Which is weird, too, to see from their kicker can't kick and their defense stinks. It's like upside down world in
Baltimore.
Baltimore.
At stopping the run. Yeah. But that's also an aspect of you're winning so many games, your opponent isn't running as much. Right. So the game script leans. But like really bad pass defense. And we've seen what Justin Herbert's doing with Quentin Johnston.
Yeah.
What Justin Herbert's doing with Ladd McConkey.
Yeah, I like Ladd.
With Josh Palmer, with some of these guys, like what they're making happen. This Baltimore offense is good.
Hey, if it comes down to Justin Herbert, Lamar, someone's got to make a play in the clutch. Who do you trust more?
Oh, we haven't seen it from either.
I know. I mean, I still think I trust Lamar, maybe because of the dual threat ability.
I would think Lamar in those shootout type, like you go back to the Ravens-Bengals game, I would go Lamar.
Yeah, I also think because he possesses the home run hitting ability with a run.
Herbert does too.
Herbert can run, but he's not going to scatter for a 60-yard run, walk-off win style. Lamar can do that.
Yeah.
So I think that's why I'd lean Lamar here.
We'll see. I mean, it's a 2.5-point spread, so...
Vegas says it's going to be tight.
Tight. Yeah, total right around 52.
Both of our scores are right there. I'm 27, 26. Where were you? 22, 24,
24, 22.
Yeah.
But I have Chargers outright.
We're
you have
right
Chargers
there.
covering still, too.
Yeah.
It shows how close this game is.
I'm not betting it. I may bet player props.
If the Baltimore defense overperforms, then I think Baltimore wins it.
Yeah.
Hey, talking hockey as well, we do here at Nesson. Check out the Hockey Hub. That's available wherever you get your podcast. Spotify, Apple, Amazon. Also on YouTube. If you're on YouTube, hit the subscribe button. That's a Hockey Hub. New episodes dropping weekly, covering everything Bruins, everything around the NHL as well. That is the Hockey Hub, wherever you get your podcasts. All right, big news in the NHL. Jim Montgomery let go by the Bruins. 5 days later, lands with the St. Louis Blues and signs a 5-year extension. This is what's interesting is that he also joins, well, he'll lead a staff now. Claude Julien is an assistant on the Blues. Claude Julien, obviously, previously the head coach for the Bruins. And this is now the last 3 coaches for the Bruins. Claude Julien, fired by the Bruins, signed by the Canadiens 7 days later. Bruce Cassidy, fired in June by the Bruins, hired by the Vegas Knights just a few days later in June. Now Jim Montgomery finding a job right away. The NHL is so interesting. It's such a retread of the same head coaches.
Yeah, it
Wherever
is.
you go across the league, it's not a lot of resurgent, like young up-and-comers. It's the same guys going to all the teams around the league. This was still a Bruins team we saw underperforming, and they've done better under Joe Sacco the 2 games since he's taken over. We'll get to that. I'm not surprised Montgomery landed on a spot this quick. I'm kind of surprised how quickly they came to an agreement on an extension. But Don Sweeney even said himself when at his presser of, you know, how they try to work, get an extension done. And he basically said, like, we just couldn't get the offer that Montgomery wanted. We entered extension talks. We couldn't find a deal based on what we offered. Jim Montgomery now in St. Louis signs the extension. What were you thinking when you saw this unfold?
I was not shocked in a second. In fact, when he got let go, I said, well, he's going to get it. He's going to get a job in like 2 seconds before you can blink. So I wasn't shocked at all. I mean, I think it's good business by the Blues. By the way, they're not the worst hockey team I've ever seen. I mean, look, the Western Conference is just loaded. We know that.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I would certainly bet on them this season for it to happen that fast.
Yeah.
They're in Madison Square Garden tonight taking on the Rangers. Good luck. Okay, how's you lose sound? But, as the season goes on, he'll improve them. What they likely need, because they don't have a ton of talent there.
Yeah.
They need a very good offseason. But I would be willing to bet if the Blues have a decent offseason, they're going to be in the thick of it next season in terms of wild card and just improving. I think it's a great move for their franchise. And I think him getting hired did not shock me. Him getting an extension didn't shock me, but it was good business on both ends for the Blues. Just like as I've said from the beginning consistently, I think it was good business for the Bruins to move off of him.
Yeah.
I don't think he's the worst coach I've ever seen, but I understood it was time to move on and get a new voice. And clearly, whatever Jim Montgomery was doing here had gone stale. We saw some of the theatrics on the sidelines with players. The message was not resonating. We said that as the season went on. Then we said that at the time he was dismissed. So I got it. And by the way, Joe Sacco's doing a fine job. They're
2-0 with them.
What are they doing, though, in that 2-0?
1-0 win, 2-1 win.
It's fundamentals. It's defense. They're better on the power play. Couldn't get much worse. I mean, it's fundamental stuff. It's almost like they went back to the basics.
Yeah.
Great. Well, Montgomery, I think, can go to the Blues and build it how he wants to build it. He's going to have a much longer leash there, a longer runway. It's not going to be the same pressure as it is in a Boston with this franchise, with this brand, in this town where you got to win championships.
Yeah.
Hell, in St. Louis, he'll be there the length of that contract, and I imagine by the end of it, the Blues will be in a much better place.
They don't play St. Louis the rest of the season. Such a disappointment.
Oh, they already play. Okay, well, yeah. We'll see them
the
next
Blues
season.
won 3-2 over. Yeah, but you want to see that this season.
Yeah,
but you want to see that.
Actually, next season will be better because, like I said, I think the Blues will be better. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think it'll be a juicy storyline, but it'll also make for a better hockey game next season.
What's wild is that the Bruins extended their coach this last May, Drew Bannister. Montgomery hits a market. They fire Drew Bannister.
You mean the Blues extended?
The Blues did.
Yeah.
Extended Bannister.
Yeah.
Back last May.
Right.
Fire him, hire Jim Montgomery.
That's good
20
business.
games into their season.
But see,
it's a good
I
move by the
respect that.
Blues.
Yes.
It's just the NHL is such
crazy.
an anomaly of a league
know.
and a sport.
I respect that.
They run back all the same head coaches. They run through them, bring them back no matter what.
That's
like
right.
Tortorello down in Philly.
Yep.
And then they do stuff like this. Like you extend a guy, fire him, who cares? Bring in a guy, and within him being in your doorstep for 2 hours, you sign him to a 5-year extension.
Look, Robert Kraft should have listened to you because you were saying from the beginning, Mike Vrabel's right there. I mean, this is what happens. Great franchises, good franchises, well-run franchises. If you feel as though you can make an upgrade, George, why the hell wouldn't you? Hey, we know we gave you an extension. Sorry, beat it. This guy's better. It's how it is. And you write the check, and the guy you fire's bummed out, but at least he's rich.
It's like, and what's good is that you see, and true, it's like a win-win for everyone. Like if Sacco continues this run, the Bruins in the uptick with their talent level and just winning with defense, it's fine. Just win.
It's fundamentals.
Don't care.
Baby.
You don't have
That's
to win
it.
5-2.
That's
just,
right.
You're winning. Exactly. Where it's a Korpisalo start and a Jeremy Swayman start too, and those 2 wins. That's what's big, is both goalies getting same production.
That's right.
Same play in front of them. Just a 2-game sample size, so really small.
Yeah.
But the fact you're getting this immediate production.
Yep.
And some key offseason signings, like Nikita Zadorov. Looked awful. Last 2 games, looking good. Like Jeremy Swayman was playing bad. All of a sudden, it's 1 win. I'm trying not to overreact.
It's okay.
But if the trajectory continues,
you can overreact
in the Bruins' favor. Thank you. If that continues, then good for Jim Montgomery landing right away, getting this long term, which he wanted.
Yeah.
Because as Don Sweeney said, try to make an extension happen. There were talks, but we couldn't get anything with the offers we had in place for him to accept it. Lands in St. Louis and gets the extension right away. It's interesting.
I'm telling you, he's going to turn them around. You watch.
The Blues, what you get with them, it's so early in the season too, but that's a team in themselves. 9-12-1. They needed the head coaching change themselves.
Yeah.
And this is more of a long-term play by them, which is smart. Let's get the guy now. Let's not play games.
Yeah.
Let's get him the extension right away too.
And he has a certain style of teams that he likes, so they'll be able to build it in his likeness, and then we'll see what happens. You know what would be awesome? A Bruins Blues Stanley Cup final.
Too soon? No, it's not too soon.
No. Well, I was going to say, but this time the Bruins actually win it.
Game 7 at home.
I don't even want it to go
Redemption all around.
Can you imagine being in a Game 7 against that damn team? Everyone would just, it would be too much. You got to knock them off in 5 or 6. You can't let it go 7. It's still too much pain there. A Game 7 against the Blues, Game 7, Stanley Cup final, you can't have that. You can't have it.
Longer we saw playoff series ago with Jim Montgomery on the bench, it's not like it got any better either.
That's true. I think you got to knock them off in 5 or 6 games. But I tell you this, I would bet on the Bruins being there before the Blues. I think it's going to take him a while.
Oh, my gosh, yeah, with this roster. Yeah. And that's, again, why the Bruins had to move so quickly this early in the season. You just signed the goalie.
That's right.
You have Marchand, McAvoy, Pastrnak, now Lindholm, now Zadorov, now the other Lindholm.
That's right.
The young guys coming up. Can you get depth scoring on your wings? Can you get the blue line to play together?
Yep.
And can your goalies be consistent? And Jeremy Swayman needs to play at that elite, top 5, top 3 level.
Yep.
Can you make that happen? You paid for it. You set everything aside. You lined it up to make it happen. Can you do it now? That's why they did it.
I agree. Now, look, we saw Cassidy go elsewhere and have success immediately. We're not going to see immediate success here with Montgomery.
No, the roster's further away from that.
I'm willing to bet that.
Good for him to land in St. Louis, though. Hey, he's Travis Thomas. I'm George Balekji. This was Boston as editor of the chat. Appreciate you guys making us a part of your day. Wherever you get your podcast, Spotify, Apple, Amazon Prime. Please like, subscribe, download, rate, and review. Make sure to tweet at us, #NessenChat. Email us, thechat@nesson.com. New episodes dropping every Monday through Friday. He's Double T. I'm GB. We'll see you guys next time. Have a good one.